Let's not give him any strange energy to pick up on. We both have a lot riding on this, Simon.
Why would you say that?
Come in. Mr. Kovac will meet you in the living room.
Amazing!
There is no question that the MCU has been going through a retooling phase for the past year, including the shows. Daredevil Born Again was okay, but had a lot of re-editing because the decisions the showrunners were making was not going well, and as you can see with their latest trailers, the Netflix vibes are back with season 2. You had Ironheart, which I'm not going to lie, I personally enjoyed, but it was a mess and nobody at Disney was promoting the show. Then you have Agatha All Along, which showed Agatha and one of the Wanda kids, which is cool. The problem with all these shows was that they feel like throwaways that Marvel has to release instead of projects that were well crafted, inspired, and cared for. Also, the MCU Disney Plus shows feels too connected to the MCU movies that it's restrained. Wonder Man I had no interest in at first. I like Yahya Abdul-Mateen as an actor, especially in Candyman, Netflix To Get Down, and Aquaman. Ben Kingsley is a legendary actor, but his character Travis feels like a waste. The advertisement for Wonder Man gave me an impression that it was going to be another throwaway. I was completely wrong. Wonder Man is one of the best pieces of media I've watched from the MCU in a minute. What you should know about Wonder Man is that it's not a superhero show, and the MCU needed it desperately. The problem with not just the MCU Disney Plus shows, but all of the superhero shows is that all of them are starting to feel the same. All the shows are connected to a universe. Each episode feels like a movie. They are cut instead of an actual TV episode. And just like the superhero movies are all about spectacle instead of the development of our main character. The Boys was a show commentating on the state of the superhero movie genre, politics, and had stakes that we haven't seen before. Now we're about to be in season 5 of The Boys, and it's close to being stale. Gotta have a big battle at the end, and they're doing what they commenting other studios are doing with these spin-offs and cameos. Wonder Man surprisingly is not about the powers, but about a regular man who just wants to become a successful actor in Hollywood. Just like the Penguin can be compared more to The Sopranos, Wonder Man is more of the likes of Seth Rogen's The Studio and HBO's Curb Your Enthusiasm. Wonder Man is a love letter to actors in Hollywood rather than superheroes. If you're expecting fight scenes, end of the world scenarios, or expecting it to connect with Avengers Doomsday, this is not it for you. The Wonder Man show made Simon Williams one of the most relatable characters I've watched in not just the MCU, but the superhero genre. Yahya plays Simon Williams, who's a working actor that's trying to make a successful career out of it, but he also turns out to be a superpower being who's potentially one of the strongest characters in the MCU. Usually, when you have a superhero in a superhero movie or show, they want to be a superhero. But all Simon wants to do is to become an actor and looks at his superpowers more like a condition than a purpose. Simon gets trauma, anxiety, and he overthinks so much that it's been holding him back with everything in his life. It's not a spoiler, but in the first episode, we see Simon working on a scene on American Horror Story. All the director of that shoot wants Simon to do was just lay on the blood and act dead. But you see notes on Simon's screenplay of his character's motivations and relationships, and he has with the characters in the scene. Simon keeps asking the director of American Horror Story so many questions to the point the producers had to make excuses to fire him. Simon knew he messed up his opportunity and once again was frustrated with himself. That's how I relate to Simon, because every day I overthink something that I had to do that either it's too late for me to do something or miss out on something. That's when I instantly connected with Simon Williams, and what he went through was too familiar with me. Since Iron Man 3, I personally feel Ben Kingsley was wasting his time in the MCU as Trevor Slattery. but Wonder Man managed to make him one of the greatest friends you could have. The last time we saw Trevor was in Shang-Chi, and he was just comedic relief. It doesn't help that at one point as a kid, I thought his Mandarin in Iron Man 3 would be generational, and this whole time, he just fake Mandarin. At the beginning of Wonder Man, I was still asking myself, like, why this character is still here. But the showrunners of Wonder Man finally found something for Ben Kingsley's Trevor. They used the consequences of Iron Man 3, recapping how he ended up portrayed as a terrorist, and made a deal with the FBI / Damage Control. The showrunners go deep into Trevor before the Mandarin fiasco. Throughout the season of Wonder Man, every decision in person Trevor meets reveals who Trevor is, especially helping out Simon. Trevor helps out Simon with his auditions, family, and even gives him life lessons to help him avoid mental errors. Being with Simon in Wonder Man changed my whole perspective on Trevor as a character, and even made me want to go back to see him in Iron Man 3. The interesting dynamic between Simon and Trevor is that they're two actors that are on different phases of their careers. Simon Williams, like I said before, is a working actor getting gig to gig just to find his breakout role, and Trevor being a washed up actor who's been in so many things before, but he's now a fugitive. That connection brings them together, and thanks to the performances of Yahya and Mr. Kingsley, their chemistry together is one of the best in the MCU, and it makes the Wonder Man show great. Simon is having a hard time at the auditions, telling Trevor that he has doubts. Trevor gave him the speech that was so relatable and to the point that it got in my feelings a little bit. As much as good friends Simon and Trevor are, Simon is the protagonist and Trevor was the antagonist. The whole reason Trevor is talking to Simon in the first place was because he made a deal with Damage Control to check up on him. Damage Control is the real antagonist, but we just see Trevor debating himself if he should betray Simon, who just so happens to be one of his closest friends. So the chemistry and the complexity of Simon and Trevor's relationship in the show was amazing. One of my favorite episodes of Wonder Man has to be episode 4 called Doorman, which is about another super being named Damar Doorman Davis. Throughout the first half of Wonder Man, I was asking myself, why does Simon hide his powers when he's in the MCU? Well, Simon gives us hints about the Doorman clause, which I didn't understand at first. But once you see this Doorman episode, everything just started to make complete sense of why Simon hid his powers. I'll just say without spoilers that everything Damar went through in Hollywood was the complete opposite of Simon Williams. This episode tells us the origin of how Damar started in Hollywood, how he got his powers, and the rise and downfall of his fame as a superpower being that's in Hollywood. This episode is the most it felt like the Atlanta episodes when they would use black and white throughout the episode as a flashback. What I appreciate most about this episode was that Damar could have easily been a villain and be a part of the plot of Simon, but they don't do that. The Doorman episode had a beginning, middle, end, and showed us a reason why Simon cannot show his power to the public since he wants to become an actor. I love that Wonder Man added black representation to the character of Simon Williams. In the comics, Wonder Man is a white person that is just as strong as Sentry and the Hulk. But I had no interest in this character of Wonder Man. And when I think of the name Wonder, I just think of Wonder Woman, and that doesn't help. I will admit I was surprised Yahya would be casted as this character, and I was afraid that they were going to do him dirty like the other castings they switched race with. When Haley played the Little Mermaid, or when Rachel Zegler played Snow White, people killed them for taking the roles, which is unfair, and I didn't want that with Yahya. Not to mention, Marvel, besides Black Panther, have not done black characters justice. It's been 5 years, and we still did not get a Blade movie. However, not only Yahya as Simon was good, they made him Haitian. Wonder Man went as far as showing Simon Haitian family with the clothes, the house, and the food. Oh my goodness, the food. It was just good to see Simon Williams' Wonder Man being a good character, with the changes of him being Haitian a little more interesting with the character. What you can take away from the show Wonder Man is that it is 100% a love letter to the actors in Hollywood. If you're a film nerd that is into the history and politics of the filmmaking industry, you will definitely love the show. Wonder Man gets into the process actors go through to get ready for a scene, networking with other agents to be able to get an opportunity for a role. They even get into actors worrying about journalists that talk about them on their websites. There's an episode where Simon was worrying about the journalists at Deadline because they are interviewing him about his life. If you know about film journalists, they are very messy and can critique even the smallest thing to make a celebrity look bad. Also, mentioning that there was a funny bit about the way Joseph Gordon-Levitt ate his salad that made him disappear in Hollywood, that made Simon anxiety go high. So those types of details is how Wonder Man is showing the day-to-day process of actors in Hollywood using a superhero character. The big battle of Wonder Man is basically the tension he gets from people in the film industry who could find out he has powers. Wonder Man became more than a superhero show, but a commentary on Hollywood and turning our flaws into strength. Destin Daniel Cretton and Andrew Guest, who are the showrunners of Wonder Man, did an amazing job of making this character more about the man than the superhero. Yahya and Mr. Kingsley were able to make these two characters, Simon and Trevor, audiences want to root for to overcome their troubles. They made the show exciting without needing the big battles and superpowers. If you are looking for Wonder Man to be a part of the bigger universe of the MCU, you will be disappointed. But if you want to watch a show with well-written characters, have something to say, and not just an average superhero show, you should definitely watch Wonder Man. I highly recommend watching it, and this show deserves to have a second season.